Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new series on this channel. One of the things I've noticed a lot lately, people that I follow are Gen X personalities, people that were born between 1965 and 1980, which is considered Generation X. I'm at the end of that. I was born in 1979, and no matter what website you search, when you search for generations, 1979 is considered Gen X. I might not be able to sit at the table with some of those that talk about 70s kids, but that's okay. I am the last Gen X. And I know that there are people born after me that are considered, but I'm claiming that name right now, the last Gen X. And some of the things I'm going to talk about are things that have affected me growing up or my generation. Things like games we played on video games, the Atari, the Nintendo, things that I was into, sporting events. For instance, the shirt I'm wearing, which is something you'll also be able to check out in this series, is what weird throwback shirt am I wearing? The 1990 Buffalo Bills AFC East champions. Actually, this is American Conference champions, our first in our reign of 4 in a row. For us, Generation X, a lot of us like to go around and talk about how we're one of the last generations and older millennials as well, where our life stories happened before the camera phones, before everything was being recorded. So there's not a lot of evidence of the things we did. I'm going to talk about some of the stories, some of the things that affected me growing up in the Adirondacks, and how with only 2 channels to my television viewing ability, I had to spend a lot of time outdoors because I wasn't going to sit through Days of Our Lives and Guiding Light when I was on summer vacation, obviously. So we were outdoors and we were playing. We were getting dirty. We were learning on our own. Our parents weren't there with us because we were out there doing it. When the streetlights came on, and even in a small little hamlet where I grew up, streetlights did come on. There was 2, but they came on. It was time for us to go home. So being in that generation, being raised in the 80s and 90s, is something that I take pride in. And I have the gray in my beard, luckily not my hair, to show it, to show that, yes, indeed, we've earned our ability to talk about this time. Now, with that said, what are some of the topics you remember from that era that you would like me to talk about and see how it affected me or my friends growing up? Now, some of the stories I might tell, I might change the names of people who were involved because, again, there's no cell phone video evidence, and, that's how we were. One of the first things I want to discuss, though, is, like I said, the fact that I only had 2 channels. Cable television didn't come to my small village, and there was the population where I grew up in Onchiotta, New York. It was listed on a road sign as you entered as 67 of, actually it was a kind of a comedy thing that was put up, 67 of the nicest people plus a couple of soreheads. So we had about 70 people or so that lived in Onchiotta, and one of our big claims to fame out there was a public campsite known as Buck Pond, and 6 Nations at that time called the Indian Museum, now it's a cultural center, are in Onchiotta. Where I grew up in, there were dirt roads. Where I grew up, there was very limited access. If you got sick or a fire happened, it was going to take a while for the ambulances or fire trucks to get to you. So we grew up pretty much with nature as our backdrop. Again, I had an NBC, I had a CBS. If the weather came in right, I might be able to get an ABC or a PBS on the channel and some Canadian channels if I figure, if I played around with the rabbity or antennas. But that's a story for another time. So growing up with just those 2 channels, our choices were limited. Our viewing options were limited. Luckily for me, as a football fan, NBC and CBS had the NFL contract, so I was able to watch games. And then in 1994 that changed, but I'll get into that another time. When the weather was bad, what did we do? Well, we played inside. We had video games, we had board games, we had card games, we used our imagination. We did things with light brights. If you don't know what that is, Google it. We did things, we wrote stories. We were creative. We had an imagination back then. Kids today, they're handed a screen and they don't really get the use of that imagination. They watch their favorite characters on the YouTube, but they don't have the same ability to go outside, and that's one thing I think is really missing from childhoods, is the use of imagination, is the use of the ability to critically think about what's going on in your small little world, whatever it is. So anyway, I look forward to discussing some Generation X things, some childhood memories of mine from the 80s and 90s, some events that shaped our lives, and how it affected me growing up. I hope you enjoy them, and if you do me a favor, click like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, especially those in our 40s and 50s now, so they can comment and tell me just how wrong I am about my opinions on something. I'd like to hear from you. Thank you, and until next time, I'm Vinnie Vincent, and you're not.